Greetings, Boris and Ghouls, and we're back to do another episode here for another project, another prop, as it were. This time we're going to be working with making us a crystal ball, I think. Now this would also be good for Halloween, but considering that fortune tellers were and spiritualism was a big part of the Age of Steam and the Victorian Age. I'll show you what we're going to need here. Well, first you're going to need, obviously, something like this, which is one of those tea lamps. Now, back at Christmas, I picked up a bunch of these little crystal ball thingies, these little Christmas balls. I've got a little bit of glue mounted on this one by accident, and I got to clean it off, but, that is, I've also got some gold glitter hot glue, and we'll be trying to use a little bit of that. And you're going to need a round disc like this, and a milk jug like this. Now, your colors, you're going to need something like this. And you're going to paint your ball, but you don't want to paint it too thick because the light's going to have to come through. You're also going to need a knife. You've got to be real careful with that one. And, you're going to need brown paint, and we'll grab that. I've got it up here because I put all the colors I need for the month of January. I don't know. Silver, that's passé. Let's try something else. I got an idea. How about mirror green? Yeah, I think that'll work. Now, and it's still technically a lighting fixture, but we're going to do something with it, so. Now I got to see, do I have any other browns over here? Now I also have some coppers, some black onyx, I've got some, yeah, we'll go with the browns. Now I got to find my paint rag, because we are going to paint this base. I need it to look, once again, I need to turn cheap wood into good wood. So, well, to that end, we're going to get the brown paint out, and I'm going to try to turn this into something more than it is. Yeah, we'll just say it like that. And like I said, spiritualism, spirit knocking and rapping and seances, all that stuff, very popular in the 1800s, during which the Age of Steam was supposed to take place. You know, basically the concept of steampunk is a past that never was, or a retro future that never happened, in which things like the South could win the Civil War, life was discovered on Mars, and Her Majesty had troops on the Martian land, things like that. See, now, when you do that, you've automatically turned. You see, you brought out a very nice wood grain. I don't know if you can see it all that good, but we'll try it here. See, turn. That's what it looks like before. And you kind of got a bit of a mahogany grain going. Another thing we're going to employ are some gems, and I'll show you what those are for too. I'm going to glue those around the base at the very bottom, underneath for the feet. That way it can kind of, they don't all have to be this color, but I want them to be kind of a purplish. So we're going to go with that. And you're going to glue 4 of these on the bottom of it. I am going to use the gold colored hot glue, simply because I didn't remember it last time, so I'm going to use it this time. And I got these pink and purple, sort of pinkish purplish gems. You could almost say they were like an amethyst or something. We're going to glue those in place on the bottom of this and hope to goodness that they stay on. Because when gluing 2 different bits of material, here sometimes is monsters. So, we're going to see what happens. Now, the reason we're gluing feet underneath this thing is so that it will stand up raise just a little bit above the ground. Now, our next step is going to be very delicate. We're going to take our leftover do-it-yourself Christmas ball. I'm going to raise up the camera just a hair so you can see what I'm doing. Now you could kind of steampunk this thing even more and put gears or cogs or whatever all over it. Me, I'm just going to go more or less with kind of a classicalist type motif. So let's go ahead and see if I can cut this thing open. This is some very hard plastic. That's what that is. And I don't want to cut myself. Okay, we're in through the plastic. But this is hard plastic, I'm going to tell you. So I don't want to cut it too deep. But it's going to have to be cut, and I've got to get my fingers out of the way. And hopefully the work I'm going to do on this thing will eliminate some sins. I hope. Otherwise this project's going to be dead in the water before it even begins. As you can see, very difficult to slice, because this is going to have to come off. Oh, and I don't want to bend that up. Alright, and that battery outage was brought to us by Durafell. This is tricky. I'm going to have to just kind of score it down. So I don't want it to be a big hunk, and I don't want to scratch all the way up onto the surface like I just did. It's going to have to be... I'm trying to stay in the groove. And I'm also trying to cut just so, and keep my fingers and things out of harm's way. Because, you know yourself, forcing a knife is kind of a bad business. And I really don't see any easy way out of this. I need to wonder something. Let's see if the blade on the other side's any better. We'll switch the sides. The great thing about these Stanley knives is the fact that there's always a spare blade on the other side. And I carried this one with me at work for years. Oh, and that's the downfall of this one, is that it's easy to hit the button and cause the thing to collapse, the blade to go back into the handle on you. This is where it gets interesting. I gotta figure out how to get into this thing. And I don't think the scissors are gonna be able to do the job, but we'll try it and see. So we're gonna have to get in under it, and I don't see that happening. I'm trying to remember, because I seem to recall doing this once before, but I don't remember it being this hard. You know, I do not remember it being this difficult to get into. Ah, well, that did the job. If I can just keep from dinging up my ball. Alright, now see, now that's going to set just like that, but we're going to have to find something for it to set on, and I do believe that's going to be a sight bigger than my milk jug, unless we put a ridge around it, which we can do. Remember, I put all that gold paint in here. I need to do two things right quick for our crystal ball. We're going to take the outer rim of this, and I want to kind of rough out a circle. And that did literally nothing. That literally, maybe a hint. Right there. Now I kind of got a basic idea. Now we're gonna pull this up. Hopefully not knock things over. What I'm doing is I'm making a sort of a lip for this thing to sit on. So I don't want it to stick now, but I do need it to kind of sit there. So what we're going to do while that's drying is we're going to go ahead and paint this ball. And in this case, mirror sheen, what they call color shift paint, which I'm just going to put a thin coat of it on the outside, well, on the inside of it. But I don't want to go too hog wild here. So I'm going to go ahead and wash off my brush. And we'll see what happens here. I will tell you, and in this case, swirling and stuff, all part of the game, all part of the magic game with a crystal ball. So if you got extra paint in some places and not enough in others, it won't be of much consequence. But we're going to try to smooth it as evenly as possible, because I don't want any place that's just overly opaque. See, like right here, that's just too much. I don't want it to be opaque. I want it to kind of glow green. And this is not the glow-in-the-dark stuff. This stuff just kind of has like a mirror's sheen to it. So the color will shift with the light. And that's kind of what we're after. Like I said, essentially this is still just yet another lamp. But I'm hoping to be able to do something a little bit more with it. So we're going to go in and put a little more paint. And up around here. And I'm going to tell you, this is not as fancy as the Art Nouveau lamp. But this one could also be used for Halloween and all sorts of other things. Now, we've got that done for a second. We're not quite done with it, mind you. You could also paint the earth on there if you had a mind to. Paint it on the outside, or the planets, or the moon, or a face, or a wombat. See, I'm going to grab a little bit more of this paint. Now, you could have just filled it up and poured it out and sloshed it around, but what's the fun in that? I really just kind of want something that's kind of maybe a little bit more paint. I don't want it to be, like I said, I don't want opaqueness, because I don't want it to be so thick that you can't see through it. But I need it to be just thick enough to obscure what's inside. Swirling is perfectly acceptable. So, one more batch of paint, and we'll see what happens. There we go. Now, I'm going to put this away. Now, I may put a layer of hot glue up around this lip too, just to kind of smooth it out. Just a hair. Once we got her going, we got her going. Alright, we're almost out of the glitter glue, but that's okay. Now, go ahead and kill the glue gun for a minute. Actually, not quite. We're going to put in another stick anyway, so. Because we got to glue this into place. And hopefully, mind you, get it to stick. Man, just getting that hot. I got that plastic soft already. That's wild. Let's see what happens when you turn it on. I'm just kind of curious. Now, turn off this light. I'm just wanting to see how this looks. Actually, it didn't exactly turn out the way I thought it was going to. But it did make quite a pretty lamp. Like I said, I've gotten kind of interested in lighting fixtures for the era to kind of make things look pretty. And honestly, I like this one. Now, I could go around the outside and varnish it, but let's maybe put a little more paint in here. Turn off this a minute. Let's try a little bit more of this. I don't want to go crazy with it because, like I said, I don't want it being so opaque that you can't see through it. But it does need maybe a little bit more paint in here. So we're going to grab a dollop or two more. And we'll try to see. I just want to have, I don't want any place to be overly clear because I don't want you to be able to get a good view as to what's in there. The idea is to make this kind of a swirling mirror type stuff. Now, let's try that out. Go ahead and put the lid back on my color shift paint. Turn on the light. Now, I gotta figure out a better way to keep it located, but let's see how that looks and see if it actually, if I have to put too much paint in. And I think I may have too much paint because it is not showing at all. Turn it on. Let me see. No, I didn't. We got 7. Whoa, that was odd. Must have a dud. Check this out. Oh yeah, it's the switch. The switch is acting a fool. Now let's see what this looks like. I might have to do a little bit more work. Actually, that's just kind of cool looking. Not real sure if it was what I aimed for, but it turned out pretty decent. I kind of dig it. But I do need to do a little bit more work just to kind of polish it off. So, go ahead and fire our glue gun back up and figure out what we can do to kind of give this just a little more body to it. What I initially thought about doing was like a Zeppelin or something with this as the balloon, but honestly, doesn't really work all that well for that. So what we're going to do is maybe put another layer of paint around this edge, or of this hot glue. I've seen some people do some wild stuff with hot glue these days. Now we're going to let that dry and cool a few minutes. we'll see how that works. We'll be back shortly. Alright guys, I do believe that the glue is hard enough now. Let's set it up here again. And that switch is still kind of acting up. Let's check this out. It does set where it needs to. I'm getting a bit of a glimmer out of it, which I think is kind of cool. Whoa, and my light went out. Did you see that? It's called Mad's Law. Whatever goes wrong, it will always do the wrong thing at the wrong time. Apparently that switch is a tad sticky. So, get that lined up. Now you ought to be able to easily remove it. I make all these lamps and any kind of lighting thing like that easily removable. Oh, that's actually neat looking. Kind of looks like, I'm not sure if it was the crystal ball I was looking for, but it still is a cool looking light fixture. For like a little candle type holder or votive light holder or whatever. You ever had an art project that just did not exactly turn out the way you wanted it to? I mean, most of the time the stuff turns out exactly the way I want it. This is one of those cases where something completely different. So you tell me in the comments below if this resembles a crystal ball or just a light fixture. In the meantime, this is Dr. Von Mad, and I will see you guys on the flip side. Don't forget to follow us on Pinterest, Patreon, and Facebook. And I bid you adieu. Actually, it kind of fits up there, don't it? Alright, bye-bye.